Another really good question that comes up a lot for new trainers and even experienced trainers is how long should my programs be? And in general, I think anywhere from about a 4 week to 6 week mark is really kind of the ideal range for most people because it's long enough that they're really going to learn the movements, they're going to understand the movements, they're going to understand the loading patterns, and it's short enough where they're not going to get bored and they're not going to get kind of tired of it. And that turnover is quick enough where you can update the workout, update the program to keep them interested. And there's real no hard and fast rule when it comes to program length. As I said, 4 to 6 weeks is a really good kind of turnover time because again, they get experience with the movements and but it's updated enough that they're not getting too bored. But I mean, if you think about it, I've been squat, benching, and deadlifting for like 10 years at this point. It's almost always in my programs. So you really could keep the same program forever and people will make progress because it's not about different movements that's going to help people make progress. It's getting better at them, getting stronger at them, getting more efficient at them, and really learning the movements, making those mind muscle connections. But again, I think 4 to 6 weeks is a really good sweet spot for most people. You can make them longer. I've made programs as long as 8 weeks, and I've made them as short as 3 weeks. But I really think that 4 to 6 week mark is like kind of the ideal. Also, when I get into more of my programming and more of the advanced kind of periodization, you can see where a little bit longer programs might make a little bit more sense. Now, what you can do to kind of extend the length of your programming and make it a little bit more all-encompassing and more longer term rather than just a month-by-month approach is to have blocks of training focus on a particular aspect. For instance, you could do a 12-week hypertrophy block where a lot more of the exercises are a little bit more focused on going to failure. There's a little bit more volume, and in general, you're building a little bit more hypertrophy compared to maybe you do more of a 12-week conditioning focus where the final exercises are more go, go, go. You're really getting your heart rate up, and then you could also do more of a 12-week block of just raw strength where there's fewer exercises, but the intensity is higher. So there's a lot of kind of overarching themes that you can kind of approach this with. And 12 weeks is a good block because 12 weeks is a quarter, basically, it's 3 months. You can make a 16-week block, you can make a 20-week block. I wouldn't get too carried away with this for a lot of clients because, as either I discussed before, I will discuss again, is clients are going to miss workouts. They're going to get sick. They're going to go on vacation. They're going to sleep in. They're going to have babies. So for the average client, having a huge, long focus block and really programming the nitty gritty details doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you do have those advanced clients who are there day in, day out, they miss a day every once in a while, but they're more advanced people, you're starting to use percentages with them, then having those kind of blocks does make sense because having a little bit more focus and having a little bit more of a specific approach to your training is going to help people be a little bit more successful, especially those advanced clients, because at a certain point, you really have to kind of start specializing and focusing on a particular aspect to make progress in that. This is just what I talked about before as far as if you do anything with a new client, they're going to make progress. This is why boot camps and Orange Theories and CrossFits do so well. Is they have a lot of new people come in who've never really worked out before and they do something and change happens. But very quickly, they stop changing because we're just throwing stuff at them at this point and now they're too advanced to really progress through just having stuff thrown at them. So having a little bit more of a particular approach is going to help them progress. So once your clients start getting a little more advanced, that's why I start talking about doing barbells, doing heavy strength training to keep them advancing in the strength aspect so that carries over into the conditioning aspect as well. Likewise, as your clients get more advanced from there, then specializing a little bit more in hypertrophy so they can build some more muscle mass, which will help them increase their strength, or focusing a little bit more on conditioning so they can focus a little bit more on fat loss. All these kind of approaches are going to make sense long term, but again, this is going to be much more important for more of your advanced clients and less important for your newer to average client.
So when it comes to planning out your training cycles, this is how you can plan out your quarter so you have more of an overall focus for each quarter. So you're not just approaching the workouts like, what do I do in January? What do I do in February? You have a longer overarching theme for each one of your clients and for your training cycles. And this is going to be very important for your advanced clients because As you have new clients, you can do literally anything with them. They're going to get stronger. They're going to build a bunch of muscle. They're going to lose a bunch of fat. They become much more athletic all at once just because they haven't done anything and now they're training. As those clients start becoming more intermediate clients, you're going to have to shift the training a little bit so they keep progressing. And that's something I'll dive into very deeply when we get to that module. As your clients get more advanced from there, you're really going to have to focus on specific adaptations that we're looking to achieve. We can't just throw a bunch of crap at them and expect them to get better. We have to specifically target different things that we're looking to achieve. So for instance, for myself, this is pretty much how I program for myself now. For Q1, I have the explosive athletic phase where I still do a lot of heavy weights with low reps, but I'm sprinkling in a lot of jumping, throwing, those types of movements. And then since I've done 2 quarters of low reps, I've lost a bunch of conditioning. So I want to rebuild my conditioning and get my work capacity back up to where it was. And then from there, I'm going to start building my muscle size, getting my muscles larger, which is going to lead perfectly into top end strength, where now my larger muscles are going to learn how to become a lot stronger. And this cycle will just repeat itself over and over again. This is something I'm also going to dive into when we start talking about periodization. So if you don't completely understand this process, don't worry, we're going to go over it a few more times. But you don't necessarily have to program like I am here. Say you have a client or you have yourself that's mostly interested in just getting larger and building really big muscles. So instead of having just one hypertrophy block, you can have 3 hypertrophy blocks and then 1 top end strength block. Or likewise, I think this is a great idea for most clients. We're just dropping the athletic phase because most clients don't really need to become more athletic. They don't want to become more athletic. I mean, if they do a little bit, sure, it's not a big deal. But they're really focused on looking good for summer and looking good for vacation, right? So this is a really great way to program for this because we're leading into summer. We're doing a lot more work. It's a little bit more fat burning. They're getting a lot of work done. So it's just going to help them look good for summer. And then as it starts getting colder, we focus on building our muscles a little bit larger and getting them a little bit stronger. And then the cycle repeats itself again from there. And then likewise, maybe you don't want your clients to train below 6s, for instance, for whatever reason. Maybe they're a little bit older and you want to save a little wear and tear in the joints. Maybe you just don't think it's really worth it for most of your clients to start building top end strength. So you just focus on conditioning and building some muscle size. And you just repeat that over and over and over again. So there's a lot of different ways to program these training blocks. And it just depends on what you want for your clients and what they're looking for. And just one thing to note here too, you notice I have top end strength 1 to 5 here. This is something I'll program for myself. But maybe for your clients or yourself, you don't necessarily want to train people to have singles or doubles or even triples. So you can do something like a 3 to 5, 3 to 6, or even a 4 to 6. So you don't have to just do 1 to 5 for your clients. It really just going to depend on that person in front of you, what they're looking for, what you're trying to achieve for them. And again, you can have your overall training year planned out for your most advanced clients, and you don't really have to get super granular with your new and average clients and even some of your intermediate clients, but it's going to be very helpful for those advanced clients because again, we're targeting specific adaptations. But your average clients can still take advantage of this. You can have a little bit more jumping, a little bit more throwing for an explosive phase for your average clients. Even though they're doing sets of 8 to 12, they can still have a little bit more jumping, a little bit more throwing. And likewise for your average clients, you can have a little bit heavier. Instead of doing 8 to 12, you can do something like 8 to 10. So it is very adaptable. You don't necessarily have to dive into the details for most of your clients, but it is changeable for each person, and it allows you to get really granular with those advanced clients who do need those specific adaptations.